The Texas Attorney General finally investigated the corruption in Leon Valley, but Mayor Chris Riley doesn't want you to see what they found. The allegations range from misdemeanors to felony computer hacking, and I believe additional criminal violations occurred during the cover-up of this police report. Keep watching to see the report Leon Valley tried to hide from the community.
Leon Valley has a poor reputation among some people who don't live here. How do you plan on improving our image?
And we did get a black eye. With the change in the council in 2020, we've really tried to be open and transparent and listen to the citizens and treat each other with respect and dignity.
Mayor Riley wants the voters to believe she is open and transparent, but backstage, it's a different story.
Benny got it because he said he wanted it, so he got it, and I asked him just to please keep it close to his vest. I didn't really want it out in the community because I know what they're trying to do. They're going to try to use it against me in the campaign. I didn't really want it out in the community.
Howdy, I'm Justin Pulliam, and you're watching the Corruption Report. There's more Undercover audio to come. I've been covering Leon Valley politics for 4 years. Here's a recap of the people and events. Chris Riley has been mayor for almost 2 decades. Her husband, Darby, an attorney, organizes behind the scenes. Mayor Riley hired Kelly Kay, the previous city manager, in 2015. Kelly later hired Joe Savaggio as police chief. Together, Kelly and Joe beefed up the police department and were heavy-handed with code enforcement violations, especially with businesses. They installed red light cameras and banned filming inside City Hall. They brought worldwide attention to Leon Valley in June 2018 by arresting over a dozen people who were filming a fake press conference called by Chief Savaggio. Kelly said,
"But we have insurance for that, for civil rights violations."
3 federal lawsuits were filed in response to the arrest of First Amendment auditors.
Okay, before you start with me, why are you arresting me? Why are you arresting me, sir? I'm media, I'm covering the arrest. Okay, what are you detaining me for?
Joe and Kelly formed a tight coalition with a majority of the council members. The city adopted a home rule charter in 2017, which created substantial controversy. In 2019, the council used the home rule charter to remove Councilman Benny Martinez from office in a 2-to-1 vote. In response, Josh Stevens and others formed the Change Leon Valley Project to recall the 2 councilors who voted against Benny and support Josh's bid to unseat Catherine Rodriguez. Eric Mata was a key activist for the Change Leon Valley Project. The recalls were successful, and the mayor's team now holds 5 out of the 6 seats on the council, which includes Josh Stevens and the newly elected Benny Martinez. Kelly resigned and Joe was fired.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to inform the Council Chief Savaggio is no longer with the City of Leon Valley. I have appointed David Gonzalez as police chief.
And then there's Evan Bowl. He is a critic of Mayor Riley's team. He ran against Benny last year and is now running against Mayor Riley.
If it is a damning document, keep it hidden. Show us that. Otherwise, release it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I say this to the council and to this community. Is this the kind of council we want? Blatant hypocrisy and corruption is this council's legacy. And I find that my presentation is rather pointless when I say this council has seen fit to hide through an investigative report.
Okay, there you go, Mr. Ball. I'm really disappointed that we have to start the new year out again just with the same. It's just so disheartening, and we have people here from visitors that have to hear this, and it's really between you and Mr. Martinez. I wish you all just would work it out rather than bring it to the whole body. But anyway, that's my 2 cents, and I've got something to say at the announcements. But it's just a shame that we can't be more positive, really.
The mayor often complains when people criticize her at council. But what does she say about others?
I told you Evan wanted that stuff to use against me.
Yeah,
sometimes Evan just irritates me. That's my problem. I told my husband, I said, Darby, I sure hope I don't mouth off at this little
well,
kid, you know?
I would say if you have to go against...
That type of rhetoric is common for the mayor's team. The Texas Public Information Act requires government officials to treat requesters equally. The mayor cannot discriminate based on who is asking for the information or the purpose the information will be used for. The mayor is hiding behind the law enforcement exception. This is the same law that enables the police to hide body camera video, use of force incidents, and other misconduct. The law enforcement exception is often used for political purpose to protect those in government.
Evan has been pushing to get this criminal complaint that Savaggio filed against me. Nasty. A couple of years ago, I don't know when it was, but anyway, and Crystal had said that it was up to me if I wanted to release it. And I said, well, I don't want to release it. Why? I mean, it's all stuff in the past.
It's just a bunch of made up stuff that Joe was trying. He was just trying to.
I have not had an opportunity to defend myself. So he says stuff in there that is not true, but I can't refute it. Crystal said I've got a lot of pressure from this guy Cogshell up at the AG's office saying that I have to release it. And I said, well, I'm going to run it by my husband, who's my attorney. We've got it tied up now because I gave the letter to Crystal last night, and I said we have to mail it. You know, so anyway, we're fighting it, and Darby said, I just left and told him, hey, Evan, I told you Evan wanted that stuff to use against me.
Mayor Riley admitted that she is denying access to public information for political purposes.
Well, I don't want to release it. I didn't really want it out in the community because I know what they're trying to do. They're going to try to use it against me in the campaign. So anyway, we're fighting it. We've got it tied up now.
In November, the Attorney General ordered the city to release the basic information from the police report. They didn't do it. So in February, I did my own request for the basic information. Instead of providing the basic info as ordered by the Attorney General, City Manager Caldera concealed the information at the request of Mayor Riley. Darby Riley mailed a letter to the Attorney General to block release of the information. The city claims Mayor Riley had access to the report only in her official capacity. But once she shared it with her husband, who is not the city attorney, the information was released to the general public and thus must be provided to any other person. Unfortunately, the city continues to hide the police report, even though Mayor Riley admits that the people have a right to know about their city government.
I'm just so tired of them saying, oh, you released confidential information. You know, bullshit. I did not. She released the same information to you for $500, you know?
Right.
It wasn't redacted. I mean, this is just so frustrating.
Right.
It's so frustrating. And then they keep saying that I released the documents to you because I didn't want you to have to pay the money. What? We didn't even talk about it. It was my decision because I felt like I am representing the citizens, and the citizens have a right to know how much money is being spent.
Josh Stevens agreed that the police report should be released. He said, Darby, the bully, is pressuring Crystal to violate the law. We can't violate Texas law because the mayor wants to protect her political dynasty. Josh claims to be for the people, but he wasn't going to fight too hard. He said, it's so frustrating. I'm walking a fine line with the mayor, trying to play politics so I don't make an enemy. Nevertheless, Josh said that the report should have gone out to every single requester. The mayor and Darby are trying to extort the city manager to protect their political future. It's ugly. They don't care about Crystal facing criminal liability. They don't care about the city getting sued by the Texas Attorney General. They only care about themselves. Eric Mata said, kind of makes us look like hypocrites if we support the Rileys on this. Josh agreed that the Rileys were hypocrites. Josh also agreed that Mayor Riley released the report to a member of the public when she gave it to Darby. Eric said that ultimately the Rileys would come out losing. Josh continued, the big issue really is the fact that Darby has so much influence that he's preventing Crystal from executing her job. Even if Darby is correct legally, he doesn't have the right to override the attorneys the city currently has. He is not our city's attorney. He's acting like he is. This has already been ruled on by the AG. The days have already elapsed. The records should have been public December of 2021. I filed a complaint with the Attorney General, which I detailed in a previous video. Almost overnight, Josh flip-flopped on the report. I'm not sure exactly why. Perhaps someone convinced him to keep it secret. Or maybe he realized that the report was about him more than it was about the mayor. And he did not want the felony accusations to be known to voters. If we were in an auditorium, I'd ask you to raise your hand, but perhaps just leave a comment. Did you know before now that the Attorney General report was about Josh Stevens? Did you know that 2 search warrants were issued for his changed Leon Valley accounts? At any rate, Josh rationalized reasons why the report should be kept secret from everyone except their political team. Number 1, it's bad political timing for Josh. It might cause the mayor to support his opponent. In my next video, I will show you how Josh really feels about the mayor and how he plays politics. 2, Josh now says the law doesn't require it to be public. That's not what he previously said. Perhaps the most disgusting and non-compelling reason. It should be hidden because Evan wants to use it as campaign literature. 4, transparency would set a dangerous standard. 5, people don't want to relive the bogus reports from Joe. And this might be my favorite. It's the opposite of 2 wrongs don't make a right. Except in this instance, I'm not supposed to correct a wrong if it will benefit someone Josh hates. Josh wrote, "The record you want is an abusive police chief going rogue from the beginning. You're trying to correct the mayor's wrongdoing while benefiting the person that promulgated the report in the first place." That doesn't add up for me. If it's a bogus report, what does it matter? It should be easy to discredit. Unless you really did the things described within the report. An equally compelling reason, Evan calls us corrupt at council meetings during the 3 minutes council is required to spend listening to the public. I called Josh out for his rationalization, and then he created new terminology. Balanced analyzation. This guy. Next, we have to do a risk calculation. I can't hold the mayor accountable if it will provide political ammunition for Savaggio. Josh then states he would release the report if it was about him. It turns out it is about him, but he hasn't released it. Reason 9. Josh said it is not an offense report, so there is no basic information. Or at least it is hard to understand what is basic information. At that time, I was misled about what it was. It turns out it was an offense report generated by a popular law enforcement records management system. Reason 10, the Attorney General is not a law enforcement agency. Except they are. And then it gets really weird. Josh said releasing the report is unconstitutional because he claims it contains slanderous accusations against a government official. I'm sure I missed some of the rationalizations, but this last one is important. Josh complains that it is like an ethics complaint, and the Texas Ethics Commission conceals ethics complaints against politicians if the complaint is not substantiated. That's how government masters want it. 2 standards of justice. If you are accused, you will be arrested and go to jail and face criminal prosecution by the district attorney. But if a politician violates the law, a special state agency should excuse his crime and keep the allegations secret. Let me reiterate this. If you violate the law, it is a criminal violation. If a government official violates the law, it's an ethics matter. Last year, the Texas Observer interviewed former Texas Ranger Chris Calloway. They asked him if he thought more public integrity reports should be released. He answered, "Yes. In high-profile cases, I think that all cases that are closed, even if no prosecution was ever done, the report should be made public. You should be able to look at them. I did an investigation into a legislator involved in a business transaction that occurred between him and a family friend. It involved air conditioners and a hunting trip. I can tell you that what he did may have been unprofessional or even immoral, but it wasn't illegal. I came to believe that the complaint against him had been motivated by political disagreements over border security initiatives. I think that report should be released." A link to that interview is in the video description. Very few public corruption investigations result in conviction. Most are not even prosecuted. But that doesn't mean the corrupt actions did not occur. And the people should have a right to know what their elected officials are accused of. Each voter should have the right to independently decide the magnitude and legitimacy of the allegations. Unfortunately, Mayor Riley and City Manager Caldera have stripped the citizens of the right to make informed decisions at the ballot box. Mayor Riley doesn't want the community to see the report. Evan Bull tried to submit the report into the record at last week's council meeting, and it started a meltdown.
You know, in an election, it is expected of candidates and current office holders to be at a standard above the rest. Oftentimes, there is a pledge that candidates are not required to sign and pledge that they are to conduct their campaigns fairly. It's called the Fair Campaign Practice Act. But some do and some don't. For those who do, they are promising the community that they will uphold every ethical practice there is to ensure that we are not attacking one another personally. Unfortunately, this community is kind of lost its idea of what ethics is. And the mayor and City Councilman Josh Stevens both signed that pledge along with myself, and have yet, after months of personal attacks from supporters or by them themselves in any fashion whatsoever, do not denounce this behavior. I am actually pleased to say that I have a 9-episode series personally attacking me on the Change Leon Valley tabloid Facebook page. And, with their motto being deep corruption, bad ideas, it's very par for the course. Which leads me to my next point. After many, many months of hard work, and not without the assistance of this mayor and the city council, I've managed, with the assistance of the Attorney General's office, to get my hands on the Office of Attorney General report that we all have been looking to get since September of last year, which was buried and refused to be released by the city council. It's not surprising that this action by the city council would be their course, considering that it names the mayor, Councilman Stevens, Councilman Bradshaw, and even implicates a citizen who currently sits on one of our committees. And so now I have several of those copies for anyone who wishes to ask.
Bull, your time is up.
Thank you.
If an item is given to a member of staff during the council meeting where a member of the public is requesting something be added to the record, the staff person should be recognized and make the following item known to the council. And once again, pass the item to the council for viewing. So I am doing that.
Point of order, Mayor.
Yes, I know.
So in our rules of decorum, it says that a citizen may appear in person or via writing. It doesn't say and or, it says or. And so I don't think the intent ever was, and I don't believe it should be, to allow citizens to come and disperse their political propaganda for entering into our official minutes. So can I make a motion that we do not accept written political propaganda from the audience members in attendance at the meeting?
Version of the council was first impaneled was that the spirit of transparency was paramount, that citizens have right to every record. I didn't read exhaustively the document being passed around, but to me it looks like a law enforcement report that would be accessible via open records request anyway. It's redacted. Like, it doesn't appear to me to be political propaganda or something else. But again, I did not read it extensively. In the spirit of transparency, I don't see an issue.
Mr. Bull came up here to speak. He has an attachment. He just went over there to Ms. Pasley and told her to add to the record. That can't be part of the permanent record for the city because we have different obligations. The Attorney General has already told us what needs to be redacted, what should or should not be released from that report. And so he can't just add it as part of a minute packet and then we release it, right? He presented it to the general public. Mr. Pulliam did not do, Evan Bull did not do that. He presented a statement and then he handed it off to Ms. Pasley.
If somebody can open the records request this, if it's public information, then fine. They can open records request it. I don't think we need to put it out there, advertise it, because I thumbed through it, and it definitely looks like a political hit job and does not tell the other side of the story at all, right? It's just one-sided.
Well, and that's my issue with it, is we've already got an opinion on that record. He got that from the Attorney General. We got an opinion from the Attorney General that said it needed to be redacted. And so we followed the Attorney General's advice and redacted it. So he's got it at a different avenue and is now trying to make it public. But just as Ms. Warren will mention on a different item, once the city becomes in possession, it's still the same rules apply. I still couldn't release it. I would still have to redact it before it released. It wouldn't change anything is what I was getting at.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we have 4 ayes and 1 nay. Is that correct? All right, the motion passes.
Office of the Attorney General Criminal Investigations Division Sergeant Rachel Kading investigated Riley and Stevens for misuse of official information. She also investigated the Change Leon Valley project for breach of computer security, which is a state jail felony. The Change Leon Valley team dismisses the report as weaponization of the criminal justice system by Joe Savaggio. However, Bexar County District Judge Catherine Torres Stahl, an independent magistrate, determined that there was probable cause for the hacking crime. Let me start from the beginning. The mayor's team, as she calls it, operates what I'll summarize as a shadow government. According to multiple sources, Darby Riley, who is not an elected official, has considerable influence over this group.
Darby knew she did, and I think he wrote it up for David or something, and had David filed it or something. I can't remember. We're always using David, bless his heart, to do the stuff we need to do, but...
Rather than conduct city affairs in public, the team meets and communicates in private. The team selects their slate of candidates, who usually win due to the political influence of the mayor. It is politically beneficial to be on the mayor's team. In May 2019, Catherine Rodriguez submitted an open records request for council and committee member communications about the Benny Martinez investigation. Several councilors were using private email accounts to communicate and did not provide their emails in response to the open records request. Savaggio requested the Texas Rangers to conduct an independent investigation. We seek an independent agency review that can provide feedback on whether these incidents are a criminal violation or not, and that can take forward any actions that might arise from the investigation, if any are warranted, Savaggio said. Larry Prophet turned over his emails. He is the man who rages at the planning and zoning meetings. Savaggio wrote, the majority of the emails turned over included City of Leon Valley business being conducted with other city officials, to include Mayor Chris Riley, Councilman Benny Martinez, Councilman David Edwards, and Councilman Will Bradshaw, along with 8 current board members. Almost all of the emails included discussions and planning between them, to include planning for in-face meetings that were apparently being conducted. According to the AG investigation, Savaggio's letter was stolen from the city. The version shown is purportedly a draft and not the final version that was sent to Ranger Freeman. Ironically, many of the emails that were not provided in response to the open records request were emails discussing transparency and complaining about the city manager's secrecy. One email said, I plan to ask additional questions, such as, why was the decision made, who made it, and on whose authority was it made? This is not open and transparent type of city government that we, the citizens of Leon Valley, are entitled to expect. Again, that's not me complaining about transparency. That's the mayor's team complaining about a lack of transparency within the communications that they failed to turn over to their political opponent, Catherine Rodriguez. I want you to have access to as much information as possible. I posted these documents to my website, justinpulliam.com, so you can make your own determination based on the records. Savaggio hired Coherent Cyber to investigate the alleged hacking. It cost the city over $28,000. Coherent Cyber produced a 36-page incident report. According to the report, city administrators met to discuss a possible breach of confidential city documents sourced from the city attorney's workstation assigned to Denise Frederick. These documents were posted on a known City of Leon Valley activist site, changeleonvalley.com, wherein the city and police leadership have been openly criticized. The city estimated the start of the breach occurred between June 25, 2019 to July 3, 2019. On June 25, 2019, the chief of police sent a letter to Texas Rangers requesting aid for an ongoing investigation. An email dated July 3, 2019 was sent to Chief Savaggio stating this letter was posted to the activist website. However, a number of other confidential documents were also posted during the June 25, 2019 through July 3, 2019 timeframe. Leaked documents continued to surface on the activist website until the credentials for Ms. Frederick's email account were changed on October 9, 2019. It should be noted that Ms. Denise Frederick was also the subject of attack by the activist. Ms. Frederick submitted a signed document to the chief of police stating her concerns that Josh Stevens was hacking her email account and gaining access to attorney privilege materials, as well as information regarding future employment opportunities with the Wiley Group. Coherent Cyber described the attack vector. Originally, city police investigators suspected unauthorized remote access into the city attorney's workstation. After a forensic review of the workstation and an investigation into the city's email server, hosted by Rackspace, we determined the adversary gained unauthorized access to Ms. Frederick's electronic mailbox using the default credentials that were never changed by the user, nor required to be changed by IT personnel. The report focused on 3 suspects: Josh Stevens, Will Bradshaw, and Eric Mata. The city's practice was to assign new account passwords in a standard format. For example, ABCD and then a 4-digit date of birth. Someone with prior knowledge of the city's password scheme could access an email account if the default password was never changed. All a hacker would need to know would be the personally identifying digits, such as the employee's date of birth. City council members are also assigned a city email account with the default password. The last paragraph of the stolen letter states, "Preservation order for Benny Martinez was not served, as Councilman Martinez is the owner of the server, and we did not want to alert the team to the pending investigation at this time." The document illegally obtained was a draft version sent to only the city attorney and city manager by Savaggio. The opportunity to obtain the draft document was limited. Savaggio made edits to the letter before sending the final version to Ranger Freeman. Ultimately, the city was unable to identify the source of the unauthorized access. The email servers kept only a 14-day access log. By the time Savaggio discovered the hacking, the logs were already deleted. 2 search warrants were obtained by the Attorney General for the Change Leon Valley project. The affidavit stated, allegations include public information request violations, abuse of office, and releasing protected information. This affiant has been provided with the documentation of ethics complaints and investigations performed by outside law firms and a forensic report that details evidence that an outside source accessed a city employee's email address and downloaded a sensitive document relating to a criminal investigation. This affiant has spoken to the City of Leon Valley Police Chief Joseph Savaggio, who also provided a lengthy written statement of these facts. Yes, Joe and Josh definitely have something in common. They both love to write long, whiny, incriminating statements. The affidavit stated, this raised serious concerns that there was a possible data breach of the City of Leon Valley's servers. I personally have serious concerns about police searching the publishers of information. Publishing information is not a crime. However, in this instance, Josh Stevens was involved, had knowledge of what happened, or at least knew who was involved. When I first obtained the Coherent Cyber report, Josh told me that Joe was able to piece together some of what happened, but Josh stopped short of telling me the full story. After Josh came out so radically against releasing the report, I became a bit suspicious that he was a subject of the report. I obtained the search warrants from the Attorney General, confirming my theory. On March 18th, I asked Josh, did you log in to the city attorney's email account? He responded with, nope. The Coherent Cyber report showed there wasn't a correlation for what Joe was alleging. By comparing hashes of the documents, specifically the Texas Rangers report, it's vindication. To claim that the Coherent Cyber Report is vindication is laughable. It might be evidence that the city is incompetent, but it in no way ruled out Josh or anybody else. The stolen letter was printed out and then scanned in and redacted by Josh. Therefore, it's obviously going to be a different file than the original. In fact, there were originally 2 documents, and Josh combined them into one file. I asked, what was the extent of the access to Denise's account, and who did it? Josh replied, to my knowledge, Denise's account wasn't accessed. I followed up, how was the letter to Freeman obtained? Josh said someone provided a hard paper copy to me so I could scan it in and post it. Where did the person get it? I asked. Josh's story? That's a good question. Probably from someone else. Maybe from a staff member such as administrative assistants, such as a person like Angie. Or maybe from someone like Crystal. Or maybe from a printer where a copy was accidentally printed to. I don't know exactly if it was any of those or some other way. Yep, he went there. He played the blame game, going so far as to cast doubt on City Manager Caldera and the administrative assistant. Josh then asked why I felt manipulated and lied to. I said, your answers are not consistent with what I've been told before. Josh said, you do realize that I know more than I'm ever going to write in a message. I can just tell you, none of my personal devices or IP addresses, since Joe subpoenaed those, were ever used to do what he's alleging in the Coherent Cyber Report. I know much more than I'm going to write in a message. I'm not going to incriminate anybody, or myself for that matter. There are journalistic privileges that apply to leaked and confidential documents, and I would say participating in Change Leon Valley was somewhat like a journalist at some points. The problem with Josh's defense is that he is not a journalist. He is an elected official for the city that was subject to the data breach. Refusal to tell the public exactly what happened discredits the integrity of an office holder and destroys public trust in government. Josh routinely requests massive amounts of information from the city, including attorney-client privileged information and law enforcement information. How can the public and city employees trust that their confidential information will be kept safe? In retaliation for my reporting, Josh already provided my abuser with text about a sensitive criminal matter. They've illegally shared Savaggio's address. What private information will they link about you? That said, there is a strong argument that all information held by the government should be made public. Absolute transparency. To achieve that, is it acceptable to steal the information? In this instance, we need not evaluate the morality of hacking to obtain information from the government. The mayor's team does not believe in transparency. That is evident by their decision to conceal the Attorney General police report. Thus, by refusing to release the report, they have invalidated the only reasonable defense for leaking the sensitive city records. Josh attempted to conceal that he was the person behind the Change Leon Valley website. He would frequently send nasty emails to the city administrators under the Change Leon Valley name. However, on October 9th, 2019, he let his name slip through in the from field in an email to me. He said, "We keep this email source confidential in case it is subpoenaed, but I will tell you my name and other organizers when I contact you." Why would someone expect to be subpoenaed? Note that this email was sent to me on the same day the city realized the computer breach and had the city attorney change her password.
So she said, open quote, "Josh Stevens is the owner and administrator of the Change Leon Valley project," close quote. Well, Ms. Charles did not show you a single piece of evidence that substantiated this baseless allegation, and if she provided you evidence, you would see that this statement is false. And I'm saying that under oath.
Not at issue.
Okay, so it's just really interesting how these proceedings are used to slander people and try to use things against.
Not at issue.
Okay.
Next.
Yeah. Sorry.
We got rid of the ethics. I'm sorry. Some people say, "Oh, that's horrible." No.
The other allegation is that Mayor Riley illegally provided attorney invoices to Josh Stevens. This was likely a violation of the city charter. However, it would not be ordinarily against the law to release attorney-client privileged information if you are a recipient. You're simply removing the privileged status by sharing it. The Attorney General investigator reviewed the Ethics Review Board testimony and noted that Josh paid $550 for an open records request and would not have to pay if the mayor sent him the invoices directly. The report states, Stevens then told the board that Riley did provide him subsequent statements, the ones that are the subject of the ethics complaint, so that he did not have to pay for them through an open records request. The crime of misuse of official information was declared unconstitutional in November. The report copy I received is partially redacted, but I deduced that the Attorney General concluded the attorney invoice release to be abuse of official capacity, a Class B misdemeanor based on the dollar amount. That was bogus. No crime was committed. Josh complained to the Ethics Board about the cost and delay in obtaining the information, but he requested much more than just the attorney invoices. Let me state this very clearly. The city did not charge $550 for just attorney invoices. It was a large open records request. Furthermore, Josh stated that the amount seemed fair and he declined to file a cost complaint. Unredacted invoices were provided to Josh within 10 business days of his request. Josh did not attempt to file an open records request to the city secretary for the new invoices.
But I'll testify under oath that it's over 30 pages of attorney-client billing statements, and there's not a single word redacted in them. Not a single word. And so now the mayor, who sent the next, so I paid $550 also, mind you. So I asked, and with other citizens asked the mayor, hey, can you maybe or are you already getting these? Can you send them to me? Can you send me these billing statements? Because the city likes to play these political games to prevent transparency with the public, and it takes months, oftentimes, to work out.
What I'm trying to clarify is previously you said, and the dais can correct me if I'm wrong, you said that you asked the mayor for copies of the records because you knew she had them anyway. Thereby, essentially, circumventing the open records request process to get a copy of it. Is that a factual statement? Because then you said, then I didn't have to wait and I didn't have to pay another $500. True or false?
I don't want to give you a gray answer either, but honestly, I don't recall. I stated that. I think I stated my difficulty, and then she might have stated something to the effect of, I already get all that type of stuff emailed to me.
You're saying that you got information without filing an open records request. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The Change Leon Valley Project crew has had months to explain their side. Instead, they attempted a cover-up. Here's a recap of their purported transparency. Private meetings and communications. No, that's not transparent. Refusal to comply with enemy's open records request. Not transparent. Stealing and publishing Joe's letters to the Rangers. What do you think? Then we have Mayor Riley sharing the attorney invoices. That was allegedly done to be transparent because the citizens have a right to know. Last year, they passed a transparency resolution, but now they are hiding the police report. Well, that's certainly not transparent. There is no philosophical consistency. They weren't fighting to change Leon Valley. They just wanted their team to regain control on the city council. It's selective morality. They claim to be transparent when convenient, but when the information is negative, they hide it. When their political enemy is requesting it, they hide it. When they think it might be used against them, they hide it. What transparency really means to them is digging for dirt on their political enemies while preventing the public from knowing their own secrets. It's the same tyranny, just a different side. The mayor's team supported me when I was gathering information that exposed Joe and Kelly. Now that I am publishing reports that might make them look bad, they're trying to shut me down. Their hatred for Evan Boll is so extreme that they will destroy years of work to rationalize their open records games. An extreme amount of time, dedication, and skill went into obtaining the documents and information published in today's corruption report. If you would like to help me expose the truth that matters most, please consider donating $20, $100, or more to support my work. The biggest threat to your liberty is close to home. Let's work together to end the tyranny. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you for watching.